Welcome to Sweeping the Country. I'm your host, Derek Walker. My co-host, oh man, I love talking to you every week, Mr. Jimmy Carter. Hey, Jimmy.
Well, I thought about you in the last week because there's been so many crazy things go on in the world. Of course, the most crazy thing was the attempted assassination of President Trump. And, you know, believe me, I mean, there's a lot, no matter when you listen to this podcast, there has been a lot going on in that whole thing about who was the shooter, how did he get there, all these things.
Oh, yeah.
We're not being told, and I don't know if we'll ever be told about how many Secret Service people there were there, because that's a need to know. But I think what you've got, and you're seeing it all over the country, one thing we don't hear, we always hear about it if a police officer is killed.
Right.
That generally gets out to the nation. There's a couple of websites and other things where that comes. But when police officers when they get shot, or they get beaten really badly or something like that, we never hear about that.
Yeah, that's true.
Rarely, even on the local news. Today, there was a police officer shot somewhere. I don't know part of the body, but he was trying to arrest an attempted murder person. The cops in America, this is one of the many issues we got going on. The police officers in America, when you get down to it, now you heard the story where the local police were in charge of that building where the sniper was.
Yeah, outside that perimeter.
Okay, which is they had delegated it to that. Supposedly, which we'll probably never know, the congressional hearings will come out and try to do something. It was a money issue. There weren't enough Secret Service people to go around. There weren't enough Homeland Security people, which they bring in to do the magnetometers to check people and that kind of stuff. They don't put Secret Service people on that. They put the people almost like the TSA people, actually. Those kind of folks are done where they check people because that's their job, as opposed to Secret Service who's protecting lives. So it was a money issue. They had asked for more resources and supposedly had been denied by Homeland Security.
Wow.
With the same guy that has been in charge of the border. I'll let people decide how good a job we think that guy's done. Majorca or whatever his name is.
Mayorkas,
he should have fired and put it on his head years ago. But he is, but he's getting orders from the top of the food chain.
Sure.
Okay. He's just a soldier. He's not coming up with these plans. But come on, folks.
Yeah.
This stuff, fish stinks from the head. I mean, so it's up there in the executive branch somewhere, whoever's running the government, that's telling him, leave the borders open, do all that. And with Secret Service, they don't want to give any more money to the Trump people.
Right.
Maybe it'll keep them from being able to go out and campaign. Again, you can't blame Biden because he doesn't know what's going on. Most any president doesn't realize what's happening. They should, but they probably don't. And they're only as good as the people they've got up there in the executive wing that are controlling all these things. So they put the local police on that. The guy goes up, he hears about this guy, maybe sees him. The cop goes up the ladder or whatever, sees the guy, I think the gunman points at him. He goes back down the ladder. We've got police that are scared. They don't feel like they're backed up. That, for as far as he knew, that guy was a cop, in camo gear. Or when all he saw was a gun pointing at him. Same way with those cops that were in that school down in Texas.
Right.
That didn't go in there and take on the cops are scared today. They second guessed by everything they do. They've got citizen review boards and every other thing, like in Minneapolis and all these other places. And after all this time, you have dumbed it down where cops are afraid to do anything.
No, you're the first person.
Let me just take I'm on a roll here. I got to tell you one more thing before I forget about it.
Yeah.
I was told at lunch yesterday by a black man who was a maintenance guy. I was having lunch at this counter. He was sitting next to me. We just got to talking about things. And he told me that he was going down a street to be a maintenance person at some place. And they were in the predominantly black section of town. And where he had cousins and family and all that. And he said, there are now streets. He said he went down one street the other day where several of these guys had long guns with long bullets coming, long, what do you call it, cartridge things?
Yeah. Banana clips,
Banana clips in there. And, and they were out in the yard talking. And he said they don't ever see cops go down that street. and the cops don't go down that street because they know it's dangerous, so they don't go. You've got cops that are scared to go down streets in America, and that's tolerated by the police chiefs and the mayors of these cities.
Man. Yeah.
And they're not, and these people are not white. I mean, you've got no one that wants to confront these people because they're scared. Everybody's scared, whether you're green, white, black, orange, whatever they are. They don't want to take on these. They don't want to go in there with like the National Guard or something and clear up the place, or go in there with SWAT and clear up the place. You've got so much drug transfers that are going on. We had just the other day down here, someone went to a car, just fired big caliber stuff into the car, killed a baby and a woman and a man. Now, what that tells you most likely is that was gang retaliation. Because no one just goes up to a car and just does that. It was a gang retaliation of some sort, because there's so much drugs going on in drug territories and things like that. Murder is just running wild in some of these southern cities, at least anyway. And I think you've just got a lot of people who wants to become a cop. My God.
No, you said it. You brought it up, and I think this is important to clarify, in the sense that you're the first person that's brought this up from this angle to me, and I've been thinking this for a long time, ever since Defund the Police began back in the day.
Right. That was the start of it.
And I think to myself, it's not that the police, you're saying, I think what you're saying is they're not afraid of the criminals. They're not afraid of that. They're afraid of the repercussions if they
consequences. Absolutely.
Right. So these people,
if they make the wrong move, if they do the wrong
their
thing,
hands are tied.
You can't be like that. You can't be a soldier, that's out on the battlefield.
Right.
And you've got to be able to feel like you've got people that support you. Yeah. And I just think that most of them feel like they don't have people.
I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more.
With all these people looking over they want to know where they are when it's convenient on something like that, but on anything else, they're scared to go boo. And then you've got judges and the criminal justice system, and this is where, believe me, it's not a Republican Democrat issue, really. Everything boils down to money, money.
Wow.
It's how people spend money. It's how the government spends money. Do they want to put money on the Secret Service and all that kind of stuff? No. They want to put it into things that'll help them get votes.
Right.
Like green things and all these things that they think they can get special interest people, give them grants to build a sidewalk somewhere. It's all about politics. That's where they want when the money comes in, they want it to go out with things that are going to do them so good. If you're going to build a battleship, is that going to do me some good? It will for certain people in certain counties of the country that have, that have places that Bath Works and that type of thing, that in Pascagoula or in Maine and places that build boats, but it's not going to help somebody in Nebraska.
Right.
So, it's all about partisan politics at the end of the day. And that's just the shameful part of it. And I don't know how in the world we fix that. I really don't.
I don't either. They tried to do something with the funds for re-election when they're campaigning, and then all they did is figured out they could subvert the money to a PAC fund and then get it back in there that way. They always figure out a loophole, it seems like, when we try to close the loophole. And I think there are people that are trying.
But it's just support in general. The specifics are terrible about that money, but it's just in general, they say all politics are local, and you want to think people are doing things for the greater good. Yeah. But, we're not building enough prisons. We're not trying to take the people off the street that need to be off the street. We're not watching our borders. We're not dealing with people who are truant in school.
Let me ask you.
It goes down to all the basic little things. It was the New York cops came up with this years ago. It was called the broken windows. That you start dealing with broken windows first, because people that allow windows to be broken, the rest of the things go down accordingly. So you make that's how they found the son of Sam, which was if you don't know who that was a serial killer in New York City. They found him because he had parking tickets. He disregarded parking in front of fire hydrants and other things, and that's how they checked him out. Because people usually, it's not their first rodeo. when they do something bad. Usually they've done something where there was a disregard to law. Usually, it's not their first trip to the rodeo. Sometimes in a murder it can be because people in an act of
a rage or
anger,
whatever. Yeah.
when they've really been a good citizen otherwise, they go crazy. Some domestic thing.
Let me ask you. Let's go back to the law enforcement for just a minute, or politicians, or all these people, and not specifically law enforcement, more toward the political side, the politicians, the senators, the congressmen and congresswomen, and all that. Is it possible or likely they get into the field with the same mindset you have right now, which is, hey, I want to do some good. I want to do what's right. I want to do what's right. And then they get into the minefield of politics and they become the dirty player that they complained about.
Or they just quit. Or they just get out.
Or they quit.
Fred Thompson.
Yeah.
My friend Fred Thompson left the Senate. Mm-hmm. He was a presidential candidate. I think he would have been one of the best presidents we ever had.
I liked him as an actor,
he was a really great U.S. senator in Tennessee. He was great.
Well, firsthand.
Yeah, he was a great senator, and he would have been a great president. But he just didn't have that BS quality that you have to have, to be able to kiss people's butt, to be able to get in there, and all the different factions you have to do to be able to do it. And, it's shameful. They get up there and they get frustrated. He told me, he said the Senate moves so slow, for example. And he said, you're one of 100, so that's not bad. And he was in the Judiciary Committee and a bunch of things. But he said, every day he walked around up there and he saw, 99 people that think they're the next president of the United States when they look in the mirror.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean,
because they all got, the one that got nominated today as we do this, J.D. Vance, is Trump's pick to be vice president. He's a U.S. senator.
Yeah, I saw that.
So we'll see, what's going on.
But you're right. You're right about that. We've been in the media business for a long time, and I've seen not anybody wanting to be president, but I will say that obviously you've done a lot more TV than I ever will do or have done. But in radio, you have a lot of people that think they're Rush Limbaugh, or they think they're Howard Stern, or Glenn Beck, or whatever. They think they're the next best thing, and they're never going to be even. I shouldn't say never, but I mean, there's a lot of.
Well, they're not. Yeah. You say never. You're pretty safe.
Yeah, just like the 99 people that want to be the next president, right?
Right.
I mean, most of them will never even get a crack at it. So it's interesting to see that, but you get that euphoric thing where, you're so important. And maybe that's
but
what it is.
You get what you pay for in everything in life.
Yeah, that's
and if
true.
I haven't learned anything, it's that. If you buy something that's cheap, it probably isn't going to last.
Mm-hmm.
If you buy something if you bought yourself a good watch, for an example, it will probably last. If you buy yourself some piece of junk, it might not last, but a year or 2 or 5 years at the most. A great watch will last a lifetime.
And it doesn't mean it's expensive. It doesn't mean it's expensive.
Sometimes it can be.
It can be.
Sometimes but not always.
Yeah.
But just something that's made well.
Right.
And all politics are local. We get what we pay for. How many people in this country? You have 100% of the people. How many people vote? Not
a very
not
small
many.
percentage.
And so they're not involved, and they don't know who their neighbors are, and they don't know who their city council person is.
That's right.
And they don't know who their state legislator is in most places.
You think
and you get what you pay for?
Don't you think people do more research? I mean, think about the last time you went to buy the new iPhone or a new car. I do hours and hours of research. Price, features, warranty.
We got most people that are just, I don't think they're serious about anything.
But you think about how much you do on something like that versus how much you learn about your congressman. I don't know anything about my congressman.
Just look at what people, for example, I've been on this push to make some money off of Facebook.
Sure.
Okay. So I've been very interested in seeing what turns people on. What can I put up there that people are going to like and whatever.
Yeah, what makes them click.
Subject matter? Yeah. What subject matter they have no interest in, which is anything involving news.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's 66% women, 30% men.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay. Nostalgia was interesting. It's people who are older than 35.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I can get some of these. I kind of feel like that. But boy, it's hard to figure out the taste of people and what people want. We are so different now.
Well, look at the
so
girl
different in our personal taste.
Look at the girl with the spitting comment or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Now she's got an agent, and now she's touring the country. And I don't think she intentionally went after that. I think
she did not. It was totally by accident.
Yeah, and so she didn't know. She just stumbled upon it. It is hard to figure it out. But we have
there are lottery winners all the time, and she's a lottery winner.
There you go.
She's like
that's a perfect way to say it.
It's a lottery winner.
Yeah.
But it's just we have got to buck up, and it's got to start with our educational system. We don't teach PE anymore, for example. That was what Richard Simmons was talking about all the time. We need to get people to physically exercise, and it starts at a young age.
Yeah.
And that wasn't deemed important. We don't teach history in school much, little half-ass history.
Yeah.
And same way with almost no geography. But we're real heavy on math and science, and I think that's fine, but it doesn't work for everybody. And I think a general education that let people that are great in that move forward with it, and you got to somehow let the other people that are going to run the country, who are probably not mathematicians or scientists, you got to let them have some education too.
No, I don't disagree at all.
And it's just really screwed up.
I would throw in there,
and civics. And by the way, civics.
Yes,
I guarantee you they don't know squat about that.
Yeah.
But they know a lot about the weird math that's taught, and I don't know. I mean, they better know about computers. That's for sure.
Oh, that's for sure. And Jimmy, how much of where we are in society right now has to do with homes being two working parent homes, which has been my whole life? I mean, but there is a generation that's still around that had a mom or a dad at home.
My mother didn't work.
There you go. And so, the parents, as far as participation.
But on the other hand, my mother was not doing a whole bunch of education for me, though. I don't think she, in her spare time,
I'm not even talking about that.
Was necessarily, doing that for me. I mean,
but she was being an example as a parent to you. I mean, she was a parent. She showed you how to raise kids,
she
right?
Took me around and took me places and stuff.
Yeah.
Kids are still going to do stupid stuff. This kid.
That's true.
That he was 20 years old, so he's still a kid to me.
Yeah, me too.
Did the Trump shooting. Who knows what the story is? I heard he was good in math and got some kind of $500 gift or something.
Yeah, I heard he was.
But he was a loner, and you could just see, and he was working in a nursing home because apparently there wasn't the job for him to do, and he, it's just you see people going down the wrong path, and I don't know why some people are left behind. I don't
either.
You look back at school, and particularly people who are smart, that usually doesn't happen. But what was going on at home? I mean, you really just dying to know how normal a house was at, and was he just some kind of eccentric kid?
Right.
And who fired him up about all this politics stuff?
Or what? I mean, was it social media? Was it school? Was it something like that?
That can't get into the last report. They couldn't get into his phone.
Yeah.
Because it was locked, and they have to fight to try to get it, and hopefully they'll get in there.
I want to ask you something else, because this aims right, and I don't mean it. There's no connotation with the word aim. I'm just saying it kind of points us in the direction, and no one ever talks about it. And I try to rack my brain, and I'm wondering if it's people have too much of it in their own families, so they don't want to talk about it. And that always goes back to mental health, right? You don't climb up on the roof of a building with a long gun or whatever you want to call it, and figure to take out a presidential candidate unless something's a little off. And I don't mean that. I mean, we all have something that's a little off. We could all be triggered at some point, I'm sure. But mental health in this country has to be addressed by somebody, and it never is.
Well, your insurances. I mean, look at your health insurance. It's so screwed up.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten a bill? You have, because you tore yourself on a bicycle.
Yeah.
When you look at the bill that's coming from the doctors in the hospital.
Yeah.
That's the most screwed up accounting job you've ever seen.
It is hard to understand.
They charge $50,000, but the insurance company only paid $17.
Right.
And so, but you're only going to have to pay $27.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, when is somebody going to investigate that and try to rip the Band-Aid off of that whole thing?
Yeah,
because there's something really weird about all that. And and I'm totally for. I mean, when I was born in a hospital that was a Catholic hospital in Montgomery, St. Margaret's. It was a not-for-profit hospital, and that went away when things started getting into the profit suspect of hospitals.
That's
And you
interesting.
wonder, has that been a bad thing? And you just got a lot of things, a lot of turns that we have made, in the country. Lyndon Johnson with the Great Society. I mean, of course, how stupid were we to be as stupid as we were about integration and that type of stuff, and even to bring in slavery in the first place? That was insane.
It's a strange thing to think about, for sure. Yeah.
But even when you go this, hundreds of years ago, but you just Johnson wanted to do right, but he turned, so did Roosevelt. But they gave a lot of government resources to things that you threw money at a problem, and maybe it wasn't the best way to deal with the problem. But
I would agree.
I've seen a lot of good things happen since I've been a kid, with the society and people who are unfortunate, who are minorities,
Yeah.
and people who have been brought up, in society now with more proper education opportunities and other things like that. But we've still got a lot of, the crime in our country is close to being, I think, out of control. Because
again,
of drugs,
I'll
things like that.
I will say
and
drugs.
I don't know how we stop that. We've got to figure out a way.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think drugs are directly related to the mental health side of it. I think you have parents that are on stuff when they have kids. I think we have, I mean, it's a mess. You're right. We have a lot of things to address as a country. Has it gotten better since the 40s? Probably.
In some ways, ways we've gotten better, and some ways we've gotten worse. I mean, look at the fact that the country has really turned away in many cases from patriotism. It's turned away from religion. Churches are not forward going, or not a booming business, and some of that has been because, the real hardcore in the religion. There's a girl who was going to high school in South Carolina, North Carolina, one of the Carolinas, and she was an upcoming singer. So the other night, here in summer, she sang at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she performed somewhere where alcohol was being served got her expelled from school.
Boy, that doesn't happen anymore.
Now, that kind of Neanderthal behavior doesn't help anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But it's their right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That school certainly has a right, but it's stupid.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
It's just that kind of stuff in society is still going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just, you just shake your head when you look at all this stuff. Cops scared to go down the street. That was not anything that I know about when I was a kid. They weren't scared to go down any street.
Yeah.
But now they are.
Yeah.
And you got a criminal justice system. If I was pissed at you and wanted to sue you because you ripped me off, I don't think my case would be heard for years.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because the civil thing, which do you ever hear anybody complain about that?
No.
But it's so screwed up and so backed up.
Oh, there's
and then the tort thing where you've got people. Yeah, if you swallow a screwdriver during surgery, you ought to be rewarded.
They leave the forceps in your abdomen,
but not $500 billion or some ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
The fact that we got lawyers on TV all the time telling people, if you're hit by an 18-wheeler, so and so. I mean, there's something wrong with that
What
system.
is that? Yeah, did you snag
Something
a fingernail?
real
You right. No, you're right about that. I've thought that for a long time. Tort reform is a huge one. Look at all the money. And Jimmy, look at the money that goes to the attorneys when you do a pro bono, like a something like a, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Pick a big company.
It's just ambulance chaser lawyers that are all over the place.
Right.
And do these people who are indigent need to be taken care of? Yeah, because the big people that own the trucking companies are going to try to get out of it as quickly as possible. So
every time,
I get that. I understand the need for that, and I'm glad those people exist.
Yeah.
But just something doesn't feel right. It feels like there ought to be a referee in here somewhere.
Right.
Keep that from being the extreme.
Right.
It's just like the internet. Nobody going up today wants there to be some type of structure of the internet. But the internet is the Wild West. I think that these big companies that own them, like Facebook and some of these others, they are anything but something you could see through. I don't trust Facebook for what they do and their algorithms and all that stuff. Nobody in the legislature understands it either.
Right.
And those things now are like the phone company. It's not, well, you don't have to use it. They have a tremendous control of society.
And Jimmy,
all of these people do.
And what's a class action suit against Facebook where they lose $5 million? They made
They don't
20
care. That's tip
billion,
money.
you know, or whatever. Right. It's like $5 fine, right? It's like a parking ticket.
So
to
it's
them.
like the phone company. They broke it up a couple of times, and they still are the
Pretty
phone
powerful,
company.
yeah.
But yeah, and they keep, no matter how many heads you cut off, they grow 7 heads.
Right,
And
exactly.
they do the same thing again. But we're just out of control with a lot of stuff that's going on, in the country. We've let it slide for a long time, and who knows what the truth is about what's going on in China, in their military, what's going on in Israel, the anti-Semitic thing that's going on, the big anti-Jew movement. What in the hell is that about?
Yeah. No, I
And
have
why
no
in the
idea.
world are Democrats on that side of the page?
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me, to see how much, the people that aren't supporting Israel are on the Democratic side.
Yeah, it is
That's opposite
puzzling.
land.
Yeah,
It's really puzzling.
I agree with you.
I don't understand. I don't understand a lot of stuff. Now that's been the theme of this podcast, but I don't care.
No,
I don't understand.
I don't either. But I also want to. I mean, just for a second, say that there's got to be a way forward to progress.
There has to be.
There has. I don't know what it is.
I don't either. I mean, I think that, it's got to start. Somebody's got to be a champ. It can start by having good governors, and let people who are special interest, represent their people.
Yeah.
And wherever they are. But let's get people find a common thread that people have. They do that in Congress. You just don't hear about it.
I'm sure they do.
Because they do get stuff done. It's just the sensational stuff they don't get done.
It's not newsworthy. But, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, because they're not doing it because the sun came up today and the sun went down. That's not news.
Right.
I don't know. Leadership is important. Spiritual leadership is important. Military leadership is important. All this, here's an example what people are talking about, and I have to agree. Look at the people that carried Trump from the podium to the car. Some of those people, if I was the president, I would want to be surrounded by Secret Service people who are the size of an NFL lineman. I would want them to be 6'5", 300 pounds. I'd want them to be able to lift up the podium with 1 foot. Because we have different rules for men and women and for different this and different that, we don't have those. We need those kind of people to be around to carry somebody, to risk that president, pick him up and take him in. They were struggling to get him to the car because you had little people in there.
I agree with you. I agree.
This diversity thing is out of whack.
I could see Trump's head all the way down the stairs, just about.
It was, I mean,
so I agree with you on that. I don't know.
You
what
need some, you can't say that anymore, though. I want big burly people to take, to do that part of the job. No, everybody should be able to do every job.
Okay,
and,
if you can't, so we can't say that. But I want smart people running the country. That's what I want.
Too.
Can I say
that?
But
it's all about, we're looking at people. We're not looking at people being smart. We're looking at people's color, their size, their race, and then we're looking at all that stuff. We're not looking at their brains.
There was it's still on. I think I don't watch it anymore. I know you watched it for a while, but there was a show called The Voice, and it was a singer show for those that don't remember. And it was, we don't want to see the people. We just want to hear the voice. That's all we want to do.
That's much crap. That's why they've had nobody come out of that thing that's a star.
But you're right.
Nobody.
But you're right. But sometimes if you're just listening to music, I want the best singer. I don't necessarily want the best looking singer. I want the best singer.
But if you're trying to get a star, you got to have it all.
Yeah, but I'm not. Yeah. I'm talking about politics now. So let's shift back.
I'm talking about Secret Service, for example. I want the smartest people that we can get in there.
That's what I'm saying. I don't care what they look like. If you're asking
somebody to catch a bullet, then I want somebody who is a big person who's got a chance of surviving this and can lift up. If you got to pick up the subject that you're protecting, I want to be able to. It's just like, I don't want to see somebody who's 5'2" and 110 pounds working on a ladder truck at the fire department.
Okay, fair. I mean,
because
that's all fair.
They can't pick up the ladder. I mean,
but that's
come
all
on,
fair. Dude. That's just like anything.
But that's not how we're running the country.
Yeah,
that's
you're
not
right.
How we're running
you're right. You're right. But trying to get that back now.
I don't know. I don't know how you unring a bell. I don't know how to unring a bell.
I don't either. I mean, you are not wrong.
But that is the issue, and no one wants to talk about the issues. They want to talk about other stuff. We brought up more things here than I ever hear in a political campaign just today.
Yeah,
and my God, it's in this whole thing. We are gun crazy in this country, and And then are you gonna hold the parents responsible?
I
I hadn't
looked at
heard anybody
that
mention
too.
that yet.
I
Are they going
talked
to hold these parents responsible for not securing that weapon?
that firearm. I talked about it this morning, and there are a few things. How soon are they going to talk about gun control again? How soon? I mean, they're already doing it. How soon are they going to talk about mental health? When are they going to start talking about
Yeah.
social media and how it affects these kids? And I call him a kid because he's 20, and when I saw the picture of him, that kid that pulled the trigger on Trump looked like 12 years old to me. He was such a young.
He did. He looked like a nerdy little kid.
Yeah, and I
He
don't know if
did.
they were showing an old picture from high school or
It would
what.
probably were a little old picture, but
Yeah.
he was only 20. He can't be that old. And I knew we were on the wrong path to things. My whole remember as a kid, I'm talking. Let's talk about nudity and sex.
Yeah.
Dr. Ruth just died, so it made me
I
think
did
about it.
not know that till you brought that
She
up.
was
How old?
96,
Dr.
and
Ruth?
she came along when she was 50. So the last 40 years she's
Yeah.
been around. But think about it, from in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and even in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
they would hide Playboy magazine, Penthouse magazine behind the counter. It put
Yeah,
a
that's
wall
right.
thing up there, even in the bookstores, and then all of a sudden the internet comes along, and and where everybody had been such prudes about all that kind of stuff, R-rated movies, X-rated movies,
Mm-hmm.
lawsuits about drive-ins that showed X-rated movies,
Yeah.
and I can remember all these things happen. And then all of a sudden, the internet comes along, and things that no one should see is out there, in the most things that even at our age we've never seen
Yeah.
are out there
You're not
on this
wrong
stuff.
about it. You're
And
not
it's
wrong.
okay. It's just perfectly okay. We're not going to put any restrictions on anything. You got to have if you're going to have that's the border. And some of these people think this is okay. No restrictions on the internet. No restrictions on the border. Nothing. But
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a country if you don't have a border, and if you don't have laws and rules in society where people follow them, you don't have a society.
Gosh, Jimmy. I mean, profound but simple, right? I mean, it's very
Yeah.
simple, and people can't accept that kind of thing anymore.
Nope.
It's just like no,
And
no.
when you don't, and you keep on going down this path, folks, and you're going to deal with the consequences because your people who are your enemies, they certainly have rules
I
and
said
they
so,
certainly have things, and you're not going to like it if they come over because we just let our guard down because we don't, we want to have people have rights to be able to come in the country and use our resources and go to our hospitals because they're poor and they need it. Well, you know what? I feel bad for them,
hmm
but again, you can't. That's why they built walls around the castle. You couldn't let everybody in because then you wouldn't be able to have life inside the castle.
Yeah.
And that's extreme, but that's sort of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, no,
We
you're
want
you're
we
right.
want to be able to help people, but you can't just get all your why don't you just open your bank accounts up and give all your money away
Well,
because people need it more than you do.
yeah, I mean, this morning I said something to somebody, and I was talking about the internet, and I was talking about social media, and I said something about I wish one of the candidates would bring up social media and how mean people can be, and
Yeah.
how harsh that can be on younger people who are still developing, their brains are still developing, and that kind of thing. And the first thing that came out of the individual's mouth that I said that to said, "It's freedom of speech."
Right.
And I get that. I totally get that. You're free to do whatever you want. You can juggle axes in your front yard, but when you start hitting the neighbor kids with them, then it's a problem. And so I look at social media that way and I think, okay, how much damage are we doing? And is it just there are kind people and there are jerks? Or is it that there's a lot more jerks, it seems like, than kind people?
And then remember, and you felt this firsthand
Yeah.
when you've been the subject, you've been the victim of a security breach and a cyber attack.
Oh, yes, I have. Yeah.
Your rights end where my nose begins.
Right.
And when you've got stuff like cyber attacks and things like that that our country deals with, there are thousands of people in this country right now fighting cyber attacks
Yeah.
that are coming in from China and Russia. And if we have a strong person in the White House, we're going to tell them that a cruise missile's coming to your house if you don't stop this foolishness.
Yeah.
We've got to stop a lot of this stuff going down
Yeah. I
because
agree with you.
We've got to. I mean, it's going in there and oh my goodness, what are we going to do if, one of these days they fire off a missile at us and it's there in 3 minutes because it can be.
Yeah.
And we're in one of our parts of our, we'll of course shoot back at them, but we don't want to get into that.
Well,
we've got to have them
would vanish.
We've got to have them know that we're so strong that you don't want to try any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think we are. I think we've got drones and things that we don't talk about publicly that keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great thing. We've got people in the military that are keeping us safe, but we have got to do a better job in civil society of keeping the regular people safe. With these criminals that are running around at night shooting people willy-nilly, and these drugs are okay.
The smash and grabs and all that garbage where they take.
And where you can have 40 people go into a store,
all of that,
tear up some old man's business, and nothing happens to him, and nothing can happen to him there where you can't, just, I don't know.
Yeah, no consequences.
We're impotent. We're really impotent. So scared that we're going to violate somebody's rights, and we need to protect people's rights. But that doesn't mean you can go in and tear up a store or sell my neighbor drugs or any of that other stuff. Everything's not protected by the Constitution in that stuff.
Man, Jimmy, some good stuff today. As always, enjoy it. I wish once in a while some of the politicians would listen to this show and glean off some of your ideas and listen to what's going on here. We're just the people. We're not in politics. We're not part of the media machine that people say are biased. We're just two guys saying, hey, we got to do something. And I appreciate you coming on each week, and let's do it again.
Just think, though, we wouldn't be doing this show today probably if Trump had been killed.
Yeah, there's a good.
You probably wouldn't have been doing the show you did today on the radio.
Yeah.
None of us would be having a normal day today if that bullet had gone 1 centimeter to the right. We wouldn't have done it. And we came that close to changing the fabric of our society in some unknown way.
Man, profound.
Because that would have changed history. Who knows where that race is going today and where it was going, but it would. Who knows? I mean, that was a history changer yesterday, and we came real close. And we came real close because some people didn't do their job.
Man.
Somewhere along the line, somebody screwed up, and a lot of people screwed up. And hopefully it was an accident and not some sinister plan. That better not come out that somebody was doing this to try to
imagine
do something for politics. I can imagine, because it is possible.
Wow.
But all these conspiracy people that are out there right now, on both sides.
Yeah.
Before we go, did you hear that right after it happened, you had some people saying, well, I hope this wasn't staged.
Right.
They had the nerve to say that in the first couple of hours, thinking it was staged. Nobody wanted to say attempted assassination. I was watching Wolf Blitzer, and they did not want to go there. They were hedging.
I mean, you got to be kidding. That is
because they thought it was a stunt. They didn't want to get caught with their pants down if they bought into it hook, line, and sinker. It was an attempted assassination.
That's
I mean, there's so much bias and so much.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
So much bias and hate, on both sides. And that can, remember, if you see him being put in the car, there's this old dude with a beard shooting the finger at people.
Yeah, he's in the camp. Yeah.
I don't want to see that either. I mean, there's just so many people filled with anger and hate.
I saw.
And that is something I hope comes from this. I hope we calm down.
I do too. I saw a guy running across the stage, and the media was set up on the stage afterwards. They take pictures and doing stuff like that, and he was yelling, "It's your fault! It's your fault! It's your," and going on and on. But I do hope, so many times when there's something like this happens, for 5 minutes we're all, kumbaya, and then 10 minutes later we forget. But I hope the country as a whole can come together to a certain extent and say, hey, look, there's no place for this. Let's just slow this roll down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, one side was saying Trump was Hitler, and then the other side saying Biden's an old fool, and it's just, calm down the rhetoric. There has to be limits of even political speech of how far you can go. Deal with the issues, and hopefully they'll do that and not call each other, names, and you're an asshole. No, you're an asshole.
Right.
Come on, hear that.
Yeah. How about from here till the end of the campaign, you just talk about what you're going to do for the country.
Yeah, try to say how you're going to move the button forward.
Yeah.
And that would be, I think that would be fine with a lot of people. But you got people that are going to be scared they're going to lose their food bucket, because one or the other gets in. So it'll tighten back up again. But hopefully,
boy.
I mean, people are turned off by a lot of that stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Jimmy, always great, always fun to have you on, like I said. And tune in next week when we do it all again right here on Sweeping the Country. Until then, I'm Derek Walker. He is
Jimmy Carter. Good day.
Good day.